Anna's fingers itched for wool as Brooklyn's winter gnawed through her thrifted coat. Between crates of overpriced organic kale of farmer's market, chaos reigned, until she spotted it. A single skein of emerald yarn, tangled but glowing like hope under flickering string lights. 55. She'd survived Soviet breadlines, English classes that made her tongue feel stuffed with socks, and a divorce that left her with half a spice rack and zero regrets. Now this rogue fiber whispered possibility. That night, she unfurled it on Anna's fingers itched for wool as Brooklyn's winter gnawed through her thin coat. A hand-me-down from a cousin who swore it was vintage, not shabby. 55. She felt like that coat, misplaced stitches in a city that prized speed over patience. Her deepest fear clung like a dropped loop in a scarf, unraveling if tugged, that she'd always be a stranger here, her accent as noticeable as a clunky knit and lacework. But Brooklyn had farmers' markets where persimmons sat beside pierogi, where a woman could barter yarn for stories. One frosty morning, Anna unfurled a skein of wool dyed exact green of her childhood village's hills, her one luxury smuggled in a suitcase. Hands trembling, she cast on stitches behind a stack of organic honey jars, ignoring vendor's raised eyebrow. A woman in a puffer jacket paused. "You teach?" she asked, vowels round as knitting needles. Within weeks, Anna's knitting circle hummed in a laundromat's back room, newcomers fumbling through pearls as Brooklyn's subway rattled windows. A Ukrainian teen knit her first wonky mitten. A Guatemalan abuela twisted cables like braids. Laughter tangled with dropped stitches, and Anna realized assimilation wasn't a perfect scene but a patchwork, bright, uneven, warm. Wool, once a tether to her past, now wove new roots. City vibes could be cold, but hands busy with yarn forgot to feel lonely. By spring, Anna's coat stayed unbuttoned, her pockets stuffed with scraps of gratitude, and a business card from honey vendor, need a teacher. Paid in cash and gossip. Brooklyn, it turned out, had plenty of holes. She just had to knit them closed. Anna's fingers itched for wool as Brooklyn's winter gnawed her collarbone. She'd left behind a lifetime of Baltic winters, but this cold felt different, sharp with unfamiliarity. A crumpled flyer in her coat pocket promised warmth. Stitch and sip, a knitting circle, a community center near Prospect Park. Skeins of possibility. First time stepping inside, she nearly bolted. Laughter tangled with English too fast for her to catch, needles clicking like Morse code she couldn't decipher. But then Marnie, a woman with silver braids and a grin wider than a subway grate, waved her over. "New blood keeps us sharp," she'd said, shoving a pair of bamboo needles into Anna's hands. "No pity, just yarn." Anna's first scarf was a disaster, lopsided, more whole than fabric. Marnie called it avant-garde with a wink. Others chimed in with their own rookie tales. Sweaters that fit cats, mittens with thumbs and wrong zip code. Creator laughed so hard her ribs ached. Here, mistakes weren't failures. They were just part of pattern. Farmers' markets became her classroom. Between stalls of honey and heirloom tomatoes, she learned slang, bartering with vendors over skeins of locally dyed merino. "That's fire," a teen said of her zigzag hat. Creator beamed, pocketing compliment like a stray button saved for later. Months in, she noticed newcomers hovering circles' edges, eyes darting like dropped stitches. Creator became one handing out needles, demonstrating a slipknot with slow, deliberate movements. Her wool stash grew into a rainbow archive, each color a chapter: lavender scarf for a nurse's graduation, moss green blanket for a refugee baby. One evening, Marnie pressed a skein of indigo yarn into Anna's palms. "For next one who needs it more than us." Wool was sturdy, meant to hold stories. She understood then. This wasn't just about making things. It was about becoming part of weave. By spring, her English had cadence of a well-knit row, loose in places but holding strong. And when a trembling woman from Kiev hesitated door, Anna didn't offer words. She held out a needle, pointed to an empty chair, and let yarn do talking. Anna's fingers itched for wool as Brooklyn's winter gnawed through her thin coat, a hand-me-down from a cousin who swore it was vintage, not shabby. 55 years old and stubborn as a dropped stitch, she refused to let cold, or doubt, unravel her. That first farmer's market visit had been a disaster. She'd misread prices, fumbled with unfamiliar coins, left clutching only a bruised apple. But now, wedged between a spice vendor and a cheesemonger, she spread out her scarves like armor. Each twist of yarn held weeks of practice, nights unraveling mistakes, mornings squinting YouTube tutorials on her daughter's old laptop. Strangers paused. A woman in a puffer jacket ran fingers over a cable-knit pattern, murmuring in a language creator half recognized. No sale, but warmth flickered anyway. Later, under a flickering laundromat light, she counted crumpled bills, enough for more skeins, maybe even that will blend in dusky rows. Her knuckles ached, but pride hummed louder. Word got around. A neighbor brought her niece, a recent arrival from Minsk, who kept sighing subway maps. Woman handed her needles, demonstrated a basic stitch. Like this, yes? No. Again. Girl's frown softened with each loop. Soon, Thursdays meant a huddle of women in Anna's apartment, trading lopsided dishcloths and phrases in broken English. Someone brought baklava, another, a playlist of home country ballads. Laughter tangled with click of needles. City life still threw curveballs. A missed rent payment, a pharmacist's impatient glare when she mangled antihistamine. But Will grounded her. Skeins became a secret ledger. Each finished row proved she could adapt without disappearing. One evening, watching her circle debate whether to frog a botched sleeve or call it avant-garde, woman caught her reflection in microwave door. Silver hair, crow's feet, hands moving with quiet certainty. Not woman who'd flinched subway turnstiles. She smirked. Who knew assimilation could smell like sheep lanolin and determination. By spring, her market stall boasted a rainbow of hats, each tagged with care instructions in 3 languages. Regulars stopped just to chat. When a college student asked why she didn't charge more, Anna shrugged. Money comes. This? She held up a half-knit sock, its heel turned flawless. This stays. Will had taught her what visas couldn't. Some knots needed patience, not force. And every tangle, once smoothed, left something stronger behind. Anna's fingers itched for wool as Brooklyn's winter gnawed her bones. But it wasn't just cold making her shiver. 55 years old, clutching a skein of merino like a lifeline, she stood outside a community center, heart hammering. Inside, women from everywhere, Syria, Mexico, Poland, chattered over needles clicking like crickets. Her Romanian accent still tripped her up in grocery lines, but yarn? Yarn spoke her language. She'd practiced her English on scarf patterns, whispering knit, purl like a prayer. Yet walking in felt like crossing a border all over again. What if they scoffed her lopsided stitches? What if she was too old to belong? Then, a snort. A sharp-eyed grandma in a neon hijab eyed Anna's trembling hands. "Another one scared of tangles?" she muttered, rolling her eyes. Anna's face burned. But defiance flared. She plopped down, whipped out needles, and cast on like her pride depended on it. Twist came when a teen snapped a pick mid-stitch, Anna's silver hair haloed by golden yarn, fierce concentration etching her face. Next morning, knit like an immigrant trended. Suddenly, farmers' markets begged her to demo, reporters buzzed about. Craftivism. And that skeptic grandma? Now elbowing folks aside to brag. Taught her everything. Anna laughed, dizzy. Skein in her lap wasn't just wool anymore. It was a flag, a bridge, a middle finger to doubt. Crowds roared her booth as she turned a drop stitch into a design flourish. "This is my start," she thought, grinning. Who knew guts came in worsted weight? Anna's fingers itched for wool as Brooklyn's winter gnawed her resolve. 5 months in, she still fumbled with subway turnstiles and mispronounced pecan, but her knitting needles never lied. That first skein, scratchy mustard yellow, bought on a whim from a stoop sale, became her anchor. She knit through panic, through homesickness, through eerie quiet of 3 a.m. when her old life in Minsk felt like a dream. Then, on a whim, she draped a half-finished scarf over a park bench with a note, "For someone who needs warmth." By spring, Anna's odd habit had bloomed into something wilder. She commandeered a corner of local library, armed with spare yarn and a sign, "Stitch and Belong." Newcomers trickled in. A Guatemalan baker with calloused hands, a Syrian teen who knit lopsided stars, a Nigerian grandmother humming hymns as her needles clicked. Skeins tangled, languages collided, but no one needed fluency to follow a garter stitch. Farmers market vendors donated misfit yarn. Anna taught a septuagenarian from Lahore to purl while he joked about her Soviet-level tension. Years later, that mustard skein would resurface, frayed, faded, woven into a community quilt hanging in Borough Hall. Anna, now 61, still smirked her own accent but no longer flinched word home. Her secret? Wool was just yarn until someone looped it into belonging. Grab your needles, cast on courage,